And on the Assad interview, now he keeps saying that you have irrefutable evidence. I mean, today, the United States is saying that they intercepted some communications between the pilot and some chemical scientist and so on how to do this. I mean, seems to be the evidence. I find that difficult. I mean, or, isn't it a bit odd that the pilot would be talking to whoever the scientists are and so on to drop this bomb? Is that the only?
I'm not aware of
you
that
have?
report.
But that's
Sure.
what CNN said, because
Sure.
they were told by a high official and so on.
Well, what I am aware of, and I think there was a backgrounder done on this by some of the of our intelligence officials who looked at and analyzed this data. What went into our analysis and our ultimate conclusion that this was a chemical weapons attack that was carried out by the Syrian regime, and that was laid out, I think, in some articles the other day. They briefed on background, given their status as intelligence officials, but it's pretty clear cut in our book. Look, that said, as I think Secretary Tillerson said, there are, we have the Joint Investigative Mechanism, we have other mechanisms. The OPCW has these mechanisms to investigate, conduct an impartial investigation into these allegations. We know what happened. We have reached our own conclusion. We carried out the airstrikes. But by all means, those independent mechanisms should be allowed to carry out their investigations. But again, what we saw yesterday was, what did Russia do? It vetoed a UN Security Council resolution that would have allowed those investigations to go
There's a
forward.
lot to go through there, but if let's say you have an investigation, and the investigation somehow, this concludes that there was no Syria chemical strike. I mean, you already destroyed that air base. So how would that be dealt with?
I can only say that we undertook that action with the utmost confidence that we were hitting the airstrip and the air base rather that carried out that strike.
And lastly,
Yeah.
I just want you to clarify something because I don't understand it. What is it that the U.S. Army, who was supposed to dispose of these chemical weapons, and in fact they did, they destroyed something like 600 tons, which is, all the chemical weapons that was at least declared by Syria at the time. Isn't that true? Would you clarify that for us? Because you keep hearing that Russia was responsible to guarantee that these weapons are destroyed or accounted for and so on.
Right. Well, they were, in fact, as signatories to that agreement. Russia pledged to assure that the Assad regime, and the Assad regime also pledged to ensure that it would give up its declared chemical weapons. There were, I don't have the exact amounts in front of me, but there was a massive amount of chemical weapons that were, in fact, taken out of Syria and neutralized. So you can't say that effort was in vain. It wasn't. It got chemical weapons out of that conflict area. But that said, clearly, either they remained their capacity to produce additional chemical weapons or they didn't declare all of their chemical weapons.
You said the
Yes, sir.
Security Council resolution that Russia vetoed yesterday would have allowed an investigation. My understanding was that the agreement back in that you just referred to, that allowed for investigations. So is it actually correct?
Sorry, I apologize. It sought to hold the perpetrators of the chemical weapons attack accountable and called on the regime to cooperate with an independent international investigation. I apologize.
Right, but an investigation, yesterday's resolution was not required for there to be an investigation.
Right. My understanding is that these bodies, I mean, that's what they exist for, is to carry out these investigations.
It did not need
to pass.
They didn't need a new authorization from the Security Council to conduct an investigation.
That's my understanding, yeah.